you, I tell everybody, I was so in love with her. You have no idea. But people are like, no, you can't. That's not possible. That's not a thing. No, you don't understand. Like, I was in love with her. Like, my eyes are watering right now. Like, I'm tearing up. And I brought this up to every single psychologist I've spoken to, and they're like, no, that's not a thing. Bullshit, it's not a thing. There's a lot more than just the physical attraction. I want an attachment. That's what I want.
Every day when I would wake up, I felt like a super spy, I'm not going to lie. Because nobody around me knows. Nobody.
Right.
They have no idea that when I say jump, at least 1 million people say how high.
On April 2016, something new appeared on the darknet. A website with a cheerful, innocent name hiding a purpose so disturbing that investigators still describe it as one of the darkest places ever built online. It was called Child's Play. The site grew faster than anyone could have imagined. Within months of its creation, it spread through hidden networks like a virus, pulling in more than 1 million anonymous users from across the world. Child's Play was built to be a haven for people who preyed on little children. A gathering place where offenders believed they could operate without consequences, hidden behind layers of encryption and false identities. It was pure evil by design. Every feature, every encrypted door, every anonymous login was crafted to protect predators and isolate the victims. The man that created this disturbing website was a monster hiding behind the username Warhead. Welcome to the Murder She Said. My name is Holly, and this is a place where you can hear rarely discussed true crime right from my little she shed. So make sure to smash the like and subscribe button to support this Oklahoma country girl in this big YouTube world. I mean, a country girl can get lost in here, and I often do. So make sure you help a girl out. I was a victim of SA myself, and so I strongly believe that this is a subject that needs to be discussed. Although we like to tend to hide it and pretend like it doesn't happen. It is happening daily. And probably, I should say, viewer discretion is advised. It is a strong, sensitive subject. Now it is time to enter the dark web, where the rules of the normal world no longer apply. The dark web is a hidden layer of the internet, a place that exists beneath the websites we see every day. It cannot be found on search engines, and you cannot access it with a regular browser. To enter, users rely on special software, most commonly called Tor, short for the Onion Router. Tor hides their location identity, bouncing connections through layers of encrypted servers, making it extremely difficult to trace who they are or where they are. It is a network that's built on anonymity and secrecy. Some corners of the dark web are harmless, forums for whistleblowers, journalists, or those simply seeking privacy. But other corners are far more sinister. It's here in these encrypted shadows that monsters hide. The dark site, Child's Play, was built for just this purpose. Child's Play, the name evokes games, childhood laughter, safety, a world of innocence, but it is anything but that. It is a place where a child's innocence is taken away by monsters. Benjamin Faulkner, whose username was Warhead, didn't create Child's Play by accident. He created it for a purpose, a calculated, deliberate goal. Ben Faulkner understood that to feel ordinary, these individuals needed each other. They needed mirrors of their own depravity, places to reinforce their disgusting behavior, and Child's Play became exactly that. Benjamin Faulkner grew up in North Bay, Ontario. To most, he seemed like any other boy in a quiet Canadian town, polite, friendly, and well-liked by peers and teachers alike. His mother described him as gentle, patient, and kind-hearted. He never seemed interested in girls, so his mother just thought he was gay. His father remembered him as having a wide circle of friends in high school, though he never stood out as a troublemaker or a partier. Faulkner was more of a gamer and obsessed with computers, a fascination that often kept him in front of screens rather than at parties. He also played in band. He wore black shirts, jeans, and he was a tall, skinny, nerdy-looking boy who loved Dungeons and Dragons. By 13, he had begun to realize that his wiring wasn't like everyone else's. The other boys whispered about crushes, about girls in their gray. He felt nothing. Instead, his mind drifted towards thoughts he knew he couldn't say aloud, thoughts that sent a cold ripple through him, thoughts that should have scared him but somehow didn't. This was the age that he realized that he felt no attractions to girls his age. His preference was 2 to 10-year-old toddlers and little girls.
Pretend. Put on the mask, pretend. What would a normal person say at this point? What would someone not in my shoes do here, do this, say here? It becomes an act forever, and it sucks realizing that you have to act for the rest of your life.
One afternoon, his friend put on a video of adult content. Nudging him with an elbow and laughing like teenage boys do, they watched silently, but not for the reason his friend assumed. He wasn't embarrassed. He was empty. There was no spark, no interest. When he was 13, he babysat a 4-year-old relative and began to abuse her. Abused her for 7 years until he went away for college. This is also when he began searching for material online. At this point, it was only for material on the regular internet, as he had not learned about the dark web yet. He slowly built a collection on encrypted hard drives, and while his private world grew darker, his public face only became more trustworthy. In his teenage years, he also held a job as a lifeguard and swim instructor at the YMCA, a role where he gained the trust of children and parents alike. Some kids would request him by name, drawn to his calm, reassuring presence in the water. He worked for the YMCA 7 summers as a teen and said that it was fun teaching children to swim. He would take every teaching shift that he could so he could be around little children. After he was arrested, he stated that although he pushed boundaries at the YMCA, he never did anything criminal. But he also admitted something far more chilling. He said the YMCA had been the perfect training ground, a place where he learned how children behaved, how they trusted, how easy it was to groom them without anyone noticing.
When you know that I had a lifeguard position for 7 years, I worked with kids every day, loved it, my favorite thing in the world.
So working as a lifeguard was a very, it was a good, I'm going to call it a hunting ground is what I'm going to call it. Although that sounds super sinister, but that's what I'm going to call it.
There was one particular instance where he did text a young girl he met at the YMCA and ask her to meet him at a certain location. Instead, her parents showed up. Thank God. And this experience scared him so badly that he actually started to receive counseling. He said after he told his counselor that he was attracted to babies as young as 2, his counselor didn't seem to want to have anything else to do with him and basically told him to go fix himself. In July 2016, after earning his master's degree in computer science, Ben found himself drifting, overqualified, underemployed, and increasingly frustrated with the job market in Canada. That's when a relative from the U.S., whom we'll call Jen, extended an invitation. She said he could stay with their family for a while, get some hands-on experience, and maybe pick up a temporary position at her husband's company. Her husband managed to place him under the director of IT, giving Ben access to systems, networks, and the kind of behind-the-scenes knowledge he had always craved. He lived with the couple during this time. Once he gained enough experience to stand on his own, he eventually moved out and returned to building his life in Canada, where he's from. Everything seemed normal. The couple didn't hear much from him after that, just an occasional message or an occasional update. Then a couple of years later, after the pair actually became parents to 2 young children, Ben announced he wanted to visit again. No particular reason, just to visit. By then, the family had a 2-year-old daughter and an 8-month-old son, an age when children can't yet explain what makes them uneasy. And the daughter was just the perfect age that Ben preferred. While Jen's husband was at work, Ben would hang out with her and the kids. According to Jen, evenings in the house often looked the same. She and Ben sitting together, talking casually or watching TV. But no matter what they were doing, there was always one constant at his side, his laptop. Jen described how protective he was of it. Anytime someone wandered too close, Ben would instantly pull the screen towards his chest, shielding it from view, not wanting anybody to see it. One night, curiosity got the better of her, and she asked what he was always working on. Ben told her that he had built his own online forum and served as its moderator. He seemed almost pleased with himself, mentioning how many followers he had gained. He explained that he posted puzzles on the forum and whoever solved them first would receive a prize. At the time, Jen didn't think much of it. He told her that the prize for solving one of his puzzles was simply another picture he had created. It was a chain of riddles that only he controlled, and according to Jen, he seemed almost delighted by the idea of strangers scrambling to keep up. At the time, nothing in Ben's behavior set off any obvious alarms to her. He was polite, quiet, helpful around the house, the kind of guest who blended into the background. But Jen admitted that throughout this visit, she kept feeling what she called those little tugs, those mama tugs that we always need to listen to, or those Grammy tugs like I am. I'm Grammy now. And we need to make sure we strongly listen to those tugs. And unfortunately, Jen didn't completely listen into that feeling that wasn't quite right in her soul. Moments where something didn't sit right, even if she couldn't even explain why. She just didn't understand why she's feeling like that. One of those moments came when Faulkner asked if he could give her eldest daughter a bath. It wasn't a request that made immediate sense, but it also wasn't one she felt she could question without sounding paranoid. Still, the tug was there, so she checked. She quietly walked down the hallway and peeked in, watching them interact. Everything appeared normal, even gentle. I'm sorry, as a mother and a Grammy, no man is going to come in and give my child a bath. I don't care if they are a relative of mine or not. They have no interaction with this kid, and then suddenly they want to give them a bath. I'm going to have more than a tug, thinking there's something wrong with that. Why would a man want to do that? I'm not blaming her in any way. I guess she felt she completely could trust this guy. I'm just saying, with the experience I've had in the past and knowing how easily this kind of thing can occur, I am a little more leery than the average person, I guess. So like I said, she just casually go in every few seconds and just peek in and see if everything appeared normal. And she never saw anything that looked out of place. But the fact that she felt the need to look, that instinct alone would linger with her long after he left. By this time, Ben was living with a roommate in Canada and worked in computer forensics and IT security. He also worked as something called a penetration tester, which means a hacker who tests the vulnerability and security of websites. He was also involved deeply in the dark web. His roommate Gordon had no idea what Ben was doing on his computer when he was home. Ben would tell Gordon that he was making money on the internet. Gordon said he always had a strange feeling about whatever Ben was doing online. He just couldn't put his finger on it, but the secrecy, the defensiveness, it all hinted at something more than harmless gaming or tech projects. His best guess was that Ben was caught up in something illegal, maybe a scam, maybe hacking, something in the gray area of the internet. And whenever he tried to ask, Ben shut him down with the same cryptic warning every time. He said, "The less you know about what I do, the better," to Gordon, or I could go to jail. During one summer trip back to North Bay, Gordon tried to break the tension with humor, tossed out a dark joke that maybe Ben was up to something far worse, something he shouldn't even been joking about. Ben didn't laugh. He didn't brush it off. Instead, he turned serious, cold. "Gordon," he said, "that's really messed up. As someone who works with kids, I care about them deeply. I'd really prefer if you didn't call me a PDF." During Ben's time on the dark web, he had joined a community called Support Community while communicating with those on the website. He discussed how he had a lot of experience in keeping websites secure. This was before he'd even started his website called Child's Play. This discussion caught the attention of a man who ran another website called the Gift Box Exchange, that at the time was one of the most popular spots on the dark web for trading child abuse material. The site had 45,000 users, and Patrick FALTE was looking for a co-administrator with a background in cybersecurity. Fall 2015, he brought Ben, a.k.a. Warhead, on board as a right-hand man. On this site, Patrick's name was Crazy Mom. Before you entered his website, the rules and guidelines were posted. In order to enter the website, you had to post 2 images or videos involving children in the act. The reason for this is because it meant you were not a cop. The police are not allowed to post child content on the web when they are trying to entrap these monsters. The site was organized into different forums for posting different types of child categorized by age range of the minor victims, including a subforum for babies and toddlers. I'm actually showing you the website pages. They were in the court documents, and it shows the different categories of each, including even a category for hardcore, which is basically when they sadistically abuse children, both physical and sexual. There was also another dark website that both Patrick and Ben had joined. It was called the Private Club, and actually only producers could join this website. If you're a producer, that means that you were the kind of monster that would film yourself doing things to these little children. And then you would share it online for other monsters to see. In April 2016, after Ben learned more about running those kind of websites, he started Child's Play. He also started another website in which the focus was on children's feet for those with foot fetishes. Ben hired several people who would monitor the ClearNet or the regular web. And he would hire them to look for people that was uploading and downloading CC. So when he found these people that was downloading this kind of stuff, he would have people that worked for him contact these users and urge them to move over to the dark web, specifically his websites. This is part of how he gained some of his 1 million users on his site, Child's Play. I'm not sure if you've heard about Peter Scully, but if you haven't, count it as a blessing. Anyway, Ben claimed that he worked as a tech expert for Scully, who abducted or sometimes purchased children to torture and record that torture. In at least one instance, and possibly more, I don't know, a little girl was tortured to death, and this video could be viewed on the dark web. I think it's called Daisy's Destruction or something like that, and it's supposed to be one of the sickest videos in the dark web. Child's Play surpassed the gift box exchange as one of the largest child websites on the dark web. Despite all the layers of anonymity Ben wrapped himself in, he eventually slipped up. While secretly running Child's Play, Ben was still juggling his role as co-administrator of the gift box. And sometimes in the summer of 2016, a routine technical issue pushed him into dangerous territory. Frustrated, he turned to a mainstream programming forum on the ClearNet, open, indexed, and visible to anyone, and posted a screenshot of the faulty code. An international task force had been circling Warhead for months, watching, waiting, piecing together tiny fragments of digital dust he left behind. At the same time, a Homeland Security team in Boston noticed something odd buried in the gift box exchange. A tiny techno glitch, the kind of thing most people would scroll past, but not investigators. Following nothing more than a gut feeling, they began sweeping the ClearNet for anyone asking for help with that exact piece of broken code. They eventually found Ben's question and traced it back to his IP address. And they were able to locate who he was. But Ben wasn't the only one who slipped. His partner, Crazy Monk, left his own trail. To pay for the gift box exchange hosting, Patrick relied on Bitcoin, supposedly untraceable currency and often used on the dark web. Except he made a rookie mistake. He registered his Bitcoin wallet with his personal email. Homeland Security followed the breadcrumbs straight back to Patrick. They found his email and who he was. Once they started watching him, the web tightened fast. They discovered the two men weren't just partners online. They met in person, and they knew it was just a matter of time before they would meet again.
Patrick was the first person who was finally like, look, you don't have to pretend anymore. And that was, relief is not even the word. It's like some sort of divine intervention. When someone finally comes to you and puts a hand on your shoulder and they're like, you're safe here, it's okay. You don't have to pretend anymore.
This is where the naive little roommate named Gordon came into the story. So it's okay, Gordon, if you happen to see this, I would have been naive too. I wouldn't even have imagined my own roommate was secretly doing such awful things. Who would? You trust somebody enough to live with them, and you don't think they would be doing something like that. Late in the summer of 2016, Ben made an out-of-the-blue suggestion to his roommate, Gordon. He said, "Hi, we should take a trip up to Washington, D.C. Gordon agreed, unaware that the wheels already turning beneath the surface had nothing to do with sightseeing. As they neared the Capitol, Ben dropped another surprise. They wouldn't be alone, he said. They'd meet up with a friend of his named Patrick. Gordon had arranged for them to stay at a relative's secluded home tucked deep in the Virginia woods. Gordon was super excited for this trip. He was studying political science in college, and he couldn't wait to see the White House, Capitol Building, and the Smithsonian Museum. For his birthday, Gordon and Ben had bought tickets for the opera at the Kennedy Center. What neither of them knew was that the moment Ben and Gordon crossed into the U.S. on September 30th, 2016, alarms silently tripped. U.S. Customs and Border Protections flagged the crossing, forwarding the alert straight to Homeland Security, and from there to investigators in Canada and Australia. So when Ben crossed from Canada into the U.S., the Homeland Security officers checked in on Patrick. They had attached a tracking device to his car. They discovered Patrick was on the move and on his way to Washington, D.C. After investigators tracked Patrick's car to the same home Ben and Gordon were staying at, they filed for a search warrant and then settled in to watch. Silent, patient, close enough to see movements through the trees, far enough to stay invisible. On October 1st, Ben approached Gordon with a strangely cheerful announcement. He said Patrick had something to take care of, and he said he wouldn't be back until the next afternoon. The date, actually, was on Gordon's 22nd birthday. He had been excited about going to the opera with Ben. But Ben pressed a crumpled bundle of cash into his hand, about $300, and told him to go and have fun. The gesture felt off, but Gordon was so excited about the money, he happily took it and went on about his merry way. Then, without further explanation, Ben and Patrick slipped out together in Patrick's car. Homeland Security followed from the moment the engine turned over. The vehicle led agents to a hotel in Manassas, something like that, Virginia. I don't know how to say it. Manassas? Sorry if I didn't say it right, Virginia. But as night settled in, the car moved again. It went from the hotel to a private residence in a little quiet neighborhood, and then it returned to the hotel again. Ben and Patrick had met a father to a 4-year-old little girl on their website. This father, or if you can call him that, he sent these two monsters videos and pictures of his little girl and agreed to meet them so they could essay her while he filmed his daughter being abused by these men in the hotel. In return, Ben and Patrick paid for all the meals for the daughter and father. They also bribed this little girl by buying her ice cream and toys. They had visited this little girl in the past, as the videos and pictures of her were already on their websites.
Like I was involved with her. Like my eyes are watering right now. Like I'm tearing up. And I brought this up to every single psychologist I've spoken to, and they're like, no, that's not a thing. Bullshit, it's not a thing.
The next morning, October 2nd, Ben and Patrick left the hotel and met up with Gordon at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington. The three of them eventually drove back to Gordon's relative's place in Virginia to sleep. The plan the next day was for Gordon and Ben to head back to Canada while Patrick returned to Tennessee. But the next morning, just before 7 a.m., the quiet Virginia home was shattered awake. The front door didn't just open. It crashed inward, splintering under the force of a federal raid. The rising sun hadn't even touched the treetops yet, but the house erupted with barking dogs, heavy footsteps, and agents shouting commands. Gordon woke up in total confusion. One moment he was asleep, the next he was sitting upright in bed, heart racing, with no idea of what disaster had just hit the house. When he reached the window, the truth became impossible to ignore. The narrow driveway was jammed with massive black vehicles, FBI vans, Homeland Security trucks, and unmarked police cars. The entire property looked like it had been swallowed by law enforcement. As Gordon opened his bedroom door, a federal agent was already at the top of the stairs, weapons drawn, armor gleaming under the hallway light. The agent ordered him to raise his hands and move to the wall, and Gordon complied instantly. I'm sure he's scared to death. Still trying to process what was happening. He was so confused. From his position in the hallway, Gordon could see directly into Ben's room. Ben was face down on the floor, completely subdued. A large officer was on top of him, restraining him with the kind of force reserved for suspects who pose serious threat. Ben wasn't resisting. He was simply caught, literally and figuratively, under the full weight of everything he had been hiding. In a matter of seconds, the secret world Ben and Patrick thought they were navigating so carefully had come crashing down around them, and Gordon, he was just confused. Gordon then was taken downstairs. He is handcuffed to a chair, and probably 15, maybe 20 agents moved methodically from room to room, opening drawers, tearing through bags, gathering anything that might reveal what Faulkner had really been doing. As Gordon sat restrained, agents surrounded him with rapid-fire questions, asking why he had come to Washington, what he was doing there, and most importantly, did he know anything about Ben's online activities? They warned him that lying or holding anything back would only make things worse. The questions keep getting progressively worse. Did he own a computer? Yes, he said. Have you ever watched porn? Yes, he said. Had he ever viewed anything involving children? Gordon answered immediately, no, absolutely not. Then the tone in the room shifted. One of the agents leaned in and asked if he knew what Faulkner had been doing the night he went out alone. The night he handed Gordon cash and disappeared until the next afternoon. Gordon told them he had no idea. That's when the officer told him. Calmly, directly, no hesitation, she said, on Saturday night, Ben assaulted a 4-year-old little girl. For Gordon, it was like the world dropped out from under his feet. Every conversation he ever had with Ben, every strange moment, every uneasy feeling, it all snapped into place with sickening clarity. And suddenly, Washington wasn't a road trip. It wasn't a spontaneous adventure. It was a destination. It was like taking a punch straight to Gordon's stomach. Authorities knew what the two had been up to because they had found video camera evidence of what Ben and Patrick had done to this little girl in that hotel room. Authorities were able to get all the passwords, usernames, and encryption keys from Ben because he gave it up within minutes. So shortly after Ben was apprehended, his cousin Jen received a phone call that came from Homeland Security. All they told her was that someone she was close to had been arrested. No details, no explanation, just enough to create a huge knot in her stomach that wouldn't go away. She and her husband agreed to meet an agent outside a small diner near their home, hoping that it was some kind of misunderstanding. The agent arrived carrying a large manila folder. Without any build-up or softening of the blow, he opened it, pulled out a photograph, and placed it in front of her. Is this one of your children? Jen's entire world tilted. The agent then laid out more images, photos from inside her home, the playroom, her baby's clothes, their toys, the bathroom, her little children in it. Every picture confirmed the same horrifying truth. Jen took a breath, trying to steady herself, and the words slipped out before she could stop them. Whoa, Ben's a PDF? The agents didn't argue. They simply told her what had to happen next. Child Protective Services had already been notified. A forensic interview had been scheduled for her oldest child, and she needed to bring the kids in immediately. Child Protective Service later asked Jen to book another appointment for her kids, this time for a physical examination. They had received some new information from Ben. Ben had admitted to attempting with one of her children, and they needed to do blood and urine samples to check for STDs. You imagine on your babies like that? It'd be so disturbing. Argos wasn't just going to monitor the site, they were going to become Warhead. Once investigators slipped into his account, they effectively inherited his identity online. And to maintain the cover that they were him, they had to meet the same expectations that he did. To be on this site, like I told you before, you had to post at least 2 images or videos of children. And you had to maintain that. You had to at least post 1 more image or video monthly after that. And legally, officers cannot post child porn. That just seems so unethical. That is, most agencies cannot because they would hit a legal wall immediately. But Task Force Argos is not like most agencies, as they are allowed to post images and videos of children that are already floating around on the internet. This whole approach is extremely controversial. Some people argue that continuing to use these images only re-victimize the children who were harmed in the first place. But others point out that many survivors, once they're older, say their images are already out there forever, so if they can be used to track predators and prevent more victims, at least some good comes from something terrible. Task Force Argos kept the Child's Play site running for another 11 months and took down more than 200 offenders during that time, using this rather controversial method. Some survivors and trauma psychologists argue that every time an image is viewed or used, even by investigators, it can feel like a new violation and the victim has no consent, especially as a child. They also argue using these images, even strategically, risk reinforcing the idea that their trauma is a tool rather than a crime. Think of it like if the victim was your child or grandchild. Would you want their image just repeatedly posted online like that, whether it was for, good or bad? So this raises a tough question. Should other agencies also be allowed to use already circulating material if it means stopping predators before they hurt more children? I'm going to ask you, what is your opinion on this subject? Before you decide, let me tell you about 2 more creeps that was captured on Ben and Patrick's disturbing websites using this exact technique. They were caught by Task Force Argos. And like I said, they caught like 200 men doing this. And this is just 2 examples of what they caught. 22-year-old Andrew Ryan Leslie from Middleburg, Florida, whom I couldn't find a mugshot. Well, he enjoyed wearing children's panties and diapers. By the age of 10, he was already watching Sam, and he had become a peeping Tom. By 13, he had already molested a little baby. Leslie was a software engineer who was constantly online rotting away on disturbing dark web content. Leslie was a member of the Gift Box Exchange website and also ran another website. Leslie's interest was in infants and toddlers. Patrick and Leslie had online chats where it showed they would meet up to exchange material. Ben and Leslie also had online chats. One chat in particular, Leslie talked about how the baby he had been abusing started talking, and he was worried that the baby would start saying things to get him in trouble. Sickening. Leslie babysit children, and it was usually children of single moms that he watched. He also preyed on children he was related to. On October 18, 2016, officers and other agencies executed a federal search warrant at Leslie's residence in Florida. When agents entered the home, they witnessed Leslie emerge from the master bedroom. When officers entered his bedroom, they witnessed a 2-year-old little baby girl laying in his bed, nude. While the officers were still searching the home, a woman showed up with a little 7-month-old baby girl, and she stated that she was dropping this baby off for Leslie to babysit. While searching the home, officers found a digital camera in the master bedroom next to the bed, which contained an SD adapter and SD card. Forensic examination of the SD card revealed 42 images depicting Leslie doing disturbing acts to this toddler and this little baby he was babysitting. I'm not going to go into detail because it's just way too disturbing to even talk about. Leslie disclosed the passwords to his computer devices, which led to the discovery of approximately 33,000 more images and videos. Leslie also reported that he had essayed 3 additional children and photographed a 4th child, evidence of which was also found on Leslie's devices. Then, like that monster's not enough by itself, we'll talk about our last monster that was associated with this group, 35-year-old Brett Bedasek from Wisconsin. And I actually found his Facebook picture online, and he is holding a fish like he'd just been fishing. Fish are not the only thing he tries to hook up with. Brett could be found on the VIP section on Child Plays and the Gift Box Exchange because he also produced his own videos. On one website, his username was Penny Lover, and on the other, it was Love Pennies. Online, he admits to having a little girl panty and little girl sock fetish. Brett preferred girls like 6 to 12. He was out on supervised release for his last charges involving the same kind of content. He had already been in trouble. In 2009, they had got a search warrant to search his home. And they not only found images of videos, but they also found a red lockbox. Inside that lockbox was little girls' used panties and socks. And apparently, I guess he would pay people to do things to children they had are their own little children. A lot of times it's the actual father or stepfather in the home, and he would pay them like $300 to produce a video for him, and then he'd have them send those socks and underwear they used on this video to him and put them in his lockbox for safekeeping as a memory, as a reminder of what these little kids were tortured through. So because of that incident in 2009, like I said, he was on supervised release, which means someone had to supervise him. And it was his mother. He moved back in with his mother, and he was supposed to have random checks done on his computer by the probation office. I don't know how good they are because I've never seen a good probation office. I doubt if he was checked on that much. He also was supposed to add a filtering device to his computer, so when caught with a tablet watching child, one time his mother actually took that tablet away from him because, he didn't add that filter. He's going to look at it. He has a past history of doing that, and nothing's going to stop him. A lot of times, nothing stops these predators, no matter what they try. I don't know why they don't know that when they let them out on supervised release or whatever. So his mother took that tablet away from him. So Brett just went out and bought a new tablet so he could secretly trade this new tablet when his mom didn't know for the old tablet because the old one had all his downloaded content on it. Brett posted a private message to Patrick on the gift box exchange that said, I sent you a private message before, probably on Child's Play under Panty Lover, because on the gift box exchange he was noted as Love Panties. Anyway, I was just send you a PM to see if you wanted to chat sometime or even exchange rare material. I believe I have a fairly decent collection. Then he named these girls' names: Unreleased Sarah, Steph, Sweet Pea, Jada, Luna. I have a huge little girl panty fetish, and your avatar really gets me going. So then on August 28, 2016, Annie Lover sent another private message. Thank you for your awesome cam thread. Please keep up the great post. And then he described the video that he enjoyed, which is disgusting. September 3rd, 2016, Penny Lover said that he requested a custom set. So this is where he discussed, I paid $300 cash for him to shoot that. I ordered the clothes, sent it to him, requested poses, setting. And then that's where he said that she wore the panties for a day. Then the producer sent the socks, bras, and panties back to this sick son of a, let's just leave it there. Brett was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Benjamin Faulkner and Patrick FALTE were sentenced to lifetime in prison for raping the 4-year-old and an additional 35 years for their dark web activities. Andrew Leslie was sentenced to 30 years for his dark web activities and an additional 60 years for raping the little toddler baby. That's 90 years total. So I don't know why they didn't just say you have life like they did on the others. And like I said, because of Task Force Argos, more than 200 PDFs were arrested and took a lot of those weirdos off the street and kept them away from a lot more victims they probably could get. I was a victim of SA when I was 6 years old, but that was before computers and the dark web. But I know for a fact I would have felt it would have been worth it if they could use my image and taking these predators off the street. I would be all about helping little children not go through that same thing I had to go through. It affects you the rest of your life. I went through all kinds of things from what I had went through as a child, including drug jail. I went through a lot of things because of that. I know I made my own choices, but I'm telling you, my mind never could deal with that. And so I tried to forget it by using drugs. And I think a lot of victims go through that kind of thing, where they'll do anything to try to forget what happened to them as children. And a lot of things I had blocked out. And until I received counseling after I got out of jail, I wasn't able to heal myself. And I've actually been 10 years clean this coming year. I think most survivors grow up knowing that once those images are out there, they never truly disappear. And that by using them to stop more children from being hurt can feel like reclaiming even a small piece of what was taken from them. And now with the way AI technology is advancing, authorities may one day be able to continue this undercover operations without exposing real victims at all. I mean, they could take these real videos that were being used, and I think they could slightly, change the way the children look within those videos. where they couldn't be identified, but still be able to use those videos to trick predators. In the end, that's what this entire story comes down to, doing whatever it takes to protect the next child. Task Force Argos proved how effective that approach can be when they infiltrated one of the largest dark web networks in the world. Their work brought down hundreds of offenders who hid behind screens and aliases, including those operating on the infamous site known as Child's Play. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think law enforcement should continue using these undercover tactics? Possibly modify with new technology, if it means saving more children from becoming victims. And if you're actually a victim of SA yourself, I want you to say whether you'd be for this or against this. Do you feel like it re-victimizes you?
I've worked at Argos since 2001. In the last 18 years, I've seen everything from images and videos of young babies being used through to teenagers crying and distraught as they're sextorted on web cameras. If you'd seen what I've seen, you would never allow your child alone in their bedroom with an internet-capable device.
Thank you all for staying with me through this deep dive into one of the darkest corners of the internet. Your support, your comments, and your willingness to confront these difficult stories means more than you'll ever know. I don't believe this is a topic that should continue to be hidden. I know it is disturbing and upsetting, and if you can't handle hearing about it, how do you think little children feel living through this horror? To stop evil, we must confront it. Come with me as I put my chickens to bed tonight. And dogs think they're going to eat their food, the chicken's food, because I feed them like scraps out of my fridge a lot of times. Come on, chick, come on, let's go bed. Come on, chick, let's go bed. Ducks are up here. They're usually the last. They don't want to go into the last for some reason. I don't know. Simon tries to eat all the food. Come on, girls. Come on, chick. Come on, chick. Don't be eating all their food. Here they come. That's my two little gold hens. Call them Goldie. Then she's so pretty, I think, this black and gold one. I got some pineapples. Y'all want some pineapples? Some pineapples? Don't let them get back out. They want to get their stuff and get back out. They're good about that, escaping. We got to put the ducks up. Y'all go to the other side. Simon, get out, Simon. Quit eating their food. Go in there, girls. Go in there, girl. This is Miss Big Head. She has an extremely big head. Go back in your side. Go. Okay. Y'all just eat. And I'm going to get the ducks. They got pineapples and, well, whatever I got left over in the fridge, I usually just feed them at night. Just odd and end stuff, and they like it. Then I also got I left my chicken food in there with them, but I'll get the ducks and then get it. Hold on. Here's Max out here begging. He didn't go in with me. Sometimes he does. Y'all go up. It's time to go bed. They fight bedtime. They don't like to go to roost. They will stay up as late as you will let them, but coyotes come out and y'all go up. Quit being like that. Go in there. Go in there. Go in there. Y'all quit it. See, they're kind of feisty sometimes. Kind of feisty, you guys are. You have clean water and everything. You stay out for a minute. Let me get their chicken food. I'm just trying to winterize the walls up. Also got heating lamps in here now and stuff. So trying to get it all winterized. Is that good? Is that good? Y'all don't like pineapple, huh? I've never fed them pineapple. Max, do not open the door. Ducks will go back out. They're feisty like that. There, show some food. Ducks also eat our chicken food, and they will not eat scraps, though. They're really weird about that. A lot of ducks will eat scraps, but mine won't. They avoid the scraps. It's not their thing. How many of y'all is here? 3, 6, 7, 8. 3, 6. See y'all? Everybody's here. Everybody's here. I count them every night because coats are bad around here. And so far we've been lucky with this, at least with this flock. We haven't had any coyotes get them. I better knock on wood though. It's a matter of time probably. And that's what you get when you got free range chickens. You have to take that chance. And I wouldn't have them anyway but free range. I don't think it's right to lock them in a cage all the time. If it was me, I'd rather be free and live shorter than locked up and live longer. That's how I feel about it. Anyway. There's our storm cellar. Speaking of tornadoes that we went through, our house was destroyed by tornadoes. So we made sure and built a storm shelter this time. A back porch tree, Christmas tree. My